plain, escape to the mountains, lest you be destroyed. But his wife looked back behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Why did she look back? First of all, God is telling us, if you choose to follow Christ, don't look back. If any man puts his hand to the plow and looks back, don't look back. Say, I'm going all the way, and I'm never going to reconsider. I thank the Lord by His grace. I bounced from one thing to another, all these different religions, until I found Christianity, and by His grace, I have never considered any other religion, because there is nothing else. And I haven't looked back. I've gone up and down a little bit, but I've not looked back. And we all have sometimes it's one step forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, but I think I'm making progress, but I'm not looking back. I think part of the reason she looked back, she had loved ones in the city. Some of her kids, they mocked Lot when he said, flee, God's going to destroy this place. They mocked their father-in-law. She had kids there, and you'd think that'd be natural. But the Lord said, you must not love them more. Don't look back. Maybe her possessions were there. You know, you think, and go back to your house. Thing is that God says, don't look back. When you choose to follow Him, our kingdom needs to be somewhere else. It's interesting also, in the days of Noah, the lost were unwilling to move off of their position. There were probably a lot of people who watched Noah build the ark. And they said, you know, the world is wicked. I'm going to there's plenty of room on that ark. I'll plan on getting on board. When I see the clouds gather, when the rain starts, I'm going to get on board. But did it ever happen that way? The door was shut by the Lord before the rain ever began. They wouldn't move at the right time when they were called. Noah made an appeal, stood in the door of the ark, and said, come. And they said, oh, the sky's clear. You must be kidding. Now? Come now? And they said, no, well, we'll wait. And when we see the water starting to gather, then we'll come. But God shut the door, and that was it. Probation was closed. They wouldn't move out of Sodom. They just were stuck in the rut of saying, well, you know, one of these days. But they waited too long. You know, I thought it would be healthy to look at the contrast between Lot and Noah. I want to be saved like Noah. Look at the difference. Lot was saved by the skin of his teeth. Noah was complete cooperation. Noah invested all in God's work and had no regrets about his investment. It floated during a great economy recession, didn't it? His investment. Lot waited too long and he lost his whole investment. Lot chose the life of convenience and made no preparation for the future. Noah followed a life of hardship and holiness. As a result of that, his family was saved. Noah devoted his life to involving his family in his work, and they were saved. Lot waited to the end, and it's questionable whether even his daughters were saved, even though they got out of town with him. God is inviting us to build an ark. Noah stored away the ark for the flood to come. We need to store away food, don't we? For that time of trouble, that flood that's coming. Those that listened, they were preparing an ark. We need to be preparing an ark, don't we? In our families, be building. In our church, isn't our church supposed to be an ark? That's why we keep doing evangelism here, and I'm glad you folks don't get tired of seeing other people come to the Lord. I can just look around and see so many of you who've come just in the last few years, and your lives are changed by the gospel. It'll be nice to have more room for people. Folks end up coming to Central, we run out of room, and then they transfer to other churches, which is okay, but we want to be a place where people are coming to the Lord. I started talking about Rome. I might end talking about Rome. I'll never forget when I went to a place called Pompeii. I was 16 years old when I was living on that boat that went through the Mediterranean, and they showed us the ruins. It's now one of the most popular tourist attractions in Italy. Back in 79 AD, it was the Sodom of the Roman Empire, Pompeii. It's where the soldiers went for R&R. They can tell from the frescoes that are still on the walls in this ancient city that there was a lot of immorality. They even have a bordello there with all the paintings on the wall. I can't show you pictures of that, but they're there. And very immoral life. I also think it's interesting that the same Roman legion that had been under Titus, that had destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, were now vacationing in 79 AD when Mount Vesuvius erupted violently and the city was suddenly covered by ash. And it was an example of a catastrophic judgment that fell on that city. You know, the Bible tells us that what happened in the days of Noah and what happened in the days of Lot are set forth before us, an example of how the wicked are going to perish. There are two choices. We are delivered from temptation or reserved for judgment. If we choose now to ask God to have complete control of our lives and say, Lord, deliver us. We don't want anything in our lives that comes between you and us. He'll do that for us.